All right. All
Wow,
right.
that got official real quick.
There we go. There we go. All right. And so we are so excited to have Ryan Wolf as our speaker today. I'm going to read his bio. Ryan Wolf is a registered clinical social work intern with over 8 years of experience in the mental health field and 32 years of service in psychological operations. That sounds deep. He is 100% disabled, 100% disabled combat veteran who served from 1992 to 2005. During his time in the U.S. Air Force, Ryan worked in joint service throughout his career until injuries forced him to retire after 13 years of service. Ryan specializes in trauma, particularly when working with military members, their families, and first responders. However, he is equally dedicated to working with all individuals, especially those navigating personality disorders such as borderline personality disorder and dissociative identity disorder. As a published author, Ryan developed a concept he calls non inclusive moral injury, which provides a framework for addressing PTSD and moral injury beyond predominant religious based treatments. This approach enables individuals from diverse perspectives to relate to their experiences through the value system of Bushido, if I pronounced that right, or the way of the warrior. Ryan is a husband, father, grandfather, friend, and mentor to many, and he actively engages with diverse cultural environments. Most importantly, he not only works in mental health in the mental health field, but he also prioritizes his own therapy. Having encountered therapists in the past with whom he couldn't connect, Ryan strives to build a strong rapport with his clients while respecting that he may not always be the right fit. What to expect? Someone like you, no big words, obviously genuine concern about your battles and a sincere desire to not see you suffer at any time. And this is kind of what he lives by when working with clients and with educating. Without further ado, we're going to go on and turn it over to Ryan. Man, we're excited to have you, brother.
Man, I appreciate you having me back again. It's been, I think, about 2 years since I had a chance to be with you all. I do see some familiar names in here, and that's pretty cool to have you all back. We were just talking a little bit that, last time the 1 hour doesn't really accomplish as much as we want, but we want to set up a time to continue. Um, Besides that, I have a absolute huge honor to have. Uh, I can't say enough about him. I have my former teammate, my best friend, somebody that I have trained in this and is helping me build the program to even be bigger across the country. And that is Michael Enlow. He's with us from Oregon tonight. Um, I can tell you that man saved my life just a few times, so I might have a little respect for him, even though we pick on each other a lot. So I'm glad he's here too. Yeah, what I'm going to try to do is accomplish a couple things. A little bit different than I did last time. Uh, hey, Brooke, you know that service was for you, girl. Um, one of my one of my old daughters from school. Um, so no, I'm not in Alabama anymore, but Alabama still allows me to provide CEUs from the state. I'm actually in Florida, live in Gulf Breeze. Yes, I live by the water. No, not everybody can come at the same time. But listen, moral injury and PTSD are obviously direly important to what we do. And one of the biggest problems, and I say this with all due respect, but one of the biggest problems is, especially what we saw in the VA and what you see in your communities, is that this is only handled, specifically moral injury, from a religious perspective. Now, I have no issue with that whatsoever in regards to it being taught in a religious area. However, not everybody fits that bill. And because of that, a lot of people are left out. My goal was to find, when I got to the VA, a way to reach out to more people. Now, if you've spent time there, you're a veteran, getting Vietnam veterans to sit and listen to anything after they've been shot so much junk for so long is almost impossible. But in the first 12 weeks, We had 12 weeks to do the first program. 10 people were in the class. 39 major traumas reconciled from the war. Okay, those numbers are unmatched. And since then, we've continued to build this thing and continue to make a difference. Now, am I passionate about it? Yes. Am I passionate about it more than about anything other than my grandkids? Yes. Because we're missing a huge marker, and that marker is the value system. Michael and I come from a very special world where we've seen things, been involved in things that, you know, movies try to make up and they're nowhere near. And we see people get injured and we talk about the 22 a day in regards to service members. But I challenge very much that it's not so much just the idea of PTSD that causes the loss, it's the moral injury. What I am doing different with y'all today is I'm going to play about the first 7 minutes of a movie. And I'm going to ask you to let me ruin movie watching for you forever. And what I'm asking you to do is take in the moments of where you see trauma or anything else within the mental health or co-occurring disorders and just see what you see. Because people don't always look at themselves fairly in the mirror. They don't look at themselves fairly on a piece of paper. They don't hear it. But the third person provides a much different perspective. Whether you're a fan of Tom Cruise or not, I'm not the biggest, but I will say that this is a game changer. So, play the first couple minutes of The Last Samurai.
They say Japan was made by a sword. They say the old gods dipped a coral blade into the ocean, and when they pulled it out, 4 perfect drops fell back into the sea, and those drops became the islands of Japan. I say Japan was made by a handful of brave men. Warriors willing to give their lives for what seems to have become a forgotten word: honor.
And let the case study begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, Winchester, America's leader in all forms of armament used by the United States Army, celebrates our nation's centennial by bringing you a true American hero. One of the most decorated warriors this country has ever known. Winner of the Medal of Honor for his gallantry on the hallowed ground of Gettysburg. He is late of the 7th Cavalry and their triumphant campaign against the most savage of the Indian nations. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Captain Nate Aldred. Captain Nathan Aldred. Yes. Yes. Ladies and one moment. Ladies and gentlemen. God damn you, Aldred. get out there. This is your last performance. You're fired. Now get out there. Come on. I'm sick of this. Come on. Yes!
Thanks, Mr. McCabe. You are too kind. This, ladies and gents, is the gun that's winning the West. Why, many's the time I found myself surrounded by a swarm of angry hostiles with nothing but this rifle between me and a certain and gruesome death. But let me tell you, folks, the Red Man is a fearsome enemy. And if he'd have had his way, why, this scalp of mine would be long gone. And there'd be a balder man standing before you today. Like those poor bastards out there on the Little Bighorn. Bodies stripped bare. Mutilated. Left to rot in the sun. This, ladies and gentlemen, the 73 lever action. Trapper. 7-shot capacity, accurate. 400 yards, 1 round per second. Now, son, have you ever seen what this could do to a man? This would blow a hole in your daddy 6 inches wide. That's right, Missy. This beauty. You could kill yourself 5, 6, 7 Braves without ever having to reload. Note the patented loading port and the smooth cocking action. My thanks on behalf of those who died in the name of better mechanical amusements and commercial opportunities. Mr. McCabe here will take your orders. God bless you all.
All right. So that's part one. Let me start off here. And this is, as Choi will tell you, this is different than last time. What did you see? And this is the interactive part of our program. You saw silence. That's not good.
I was on there.
What was that?
I would say it kind of sounded like he had like a flashback.
Okay. Definitely. Let's see. Alcohol use. Okay. It was delayed. Flashbacks for sure. Struggling memories. Yes. PTSD there without question. Yeah, Tracy, there's some of that there. We're missing, obvious. You had no empathy, absolutely sadness. Thank you. That's what I was waiting for. Substance abuse. All right. So after doing this for years, I realized that there is no movie that I've ever seen that gives you a perspective, third person, the whole way through, that covers substance abuse and PTSD together. Of course, I'm going to make my argument that, it's not all about PTSD as we know it. And that's going to take us into the moral injury subject. Now, usually what I would do, and we just don't have the time, is I would have you watch it again and see how much more is there. I will tell you that you might go from 10, but by the time you've watched that part 3 times, we will have a list of 40 plus items that we see. Everything from somebody pushing the substance, everybody dealing with some type of interpersonal conflicts, how he's handling himself, what stage he's in, muscle memory, vivid recall. It is a spectacular reference to give your patients, clients, an ability to see a bigger picture. I want to get into these slides and I'll see how far we can get. Please feel free to continue to put stuff in the chat. If I missed something, Choi, please let me know. But when I say that I'm giving something that is 100% believed in, y'all, it's exactly how I feel about this. And you'll understand why in a second. So, and we got no sound here. Wrong screen. How about we jump over to the other one? Yes, even old men make mistakes all the time. All right, so here's what we got. Moral injury, what we've seen and what we need to see. I'm going to slide my camera over here. Not sure if you can see me. And my camera likes to do dramatic effects, so enjoy the laugh if it does so. As you already said, I'm an associate therapist here for a company called Elite DNA. We're the largest facility in the state of Florida, have 32 offices, opening up 3 more. Employ MSWs like crazy, and great program. And all I can say at this point is we are expanding. And it's going to be awesome for a lot of states that may happily touch Florida, but that's a different issue. What I want to get to is a definition. There's a lot of videos in here, but there's a couple basic definitions that fall in here. One comes from Dr. Jonathan Shea, really the founder of what we know about moral injury and multiple author. He states, it's present when there has been a betrayal of what's right by someone who holds legitimate authority in a high stakes situation. Further, when all 3 are present, moral injury is present and the body codes it in such a way that it codes a physical attack. Okay, I hate textbook definitions. I like the next one. I think it's efficient and I think it makes more sense within the context of military service, particularly regarding the experience of war. Moral injury refers to the emotional and spiritual impact of participating in, witnessing, and or being victimized by actions and behaviors which violate a service member's core moral values and behavioral expectations of self or others. Moral injury almost always pivots with the dimension of time. Moral codes evolve along identities, transitions inform perspectives, and they form new conclusions. Syracuse had a great program on moral injury. It's kind of stepped down, but they really hit the nail on the head. Being told to do something that you didn't feel was ethically right, seeing things that you just cannot identify with that really vex your soul, things that challenge your basic belief system. Now, as time has gone on, we could really expand into even more. I'm working with the director of the Palo Alto VA in redefining moral injury and moral pain, because there's some things that are being missed. We'll make more time to come back to that at a later time. Here's the key. This is an old diagram, 2014. There are so many more that are out there now. But that's not the point. The point is that if you took this sheet of paper, you folded it so that you couldn't see PTSD, both, or moral injury, and you sat a patient down in front of you, said, like, circle what you're going through. And this is exactly what I would do at the VA. I did it in a residential environment as well. When I look at this chart, when I see it, a couple things stand out. Obviously, the middle, we have a place of sharing. Some people, some really fall into that PTSD side. Arguably, when we're talking about the danger of self-harm, sorrow, grief, regret, shame, alienation, continue your list. These were some of the biggest things that our Vietnam veterans responded to as to what they felt when they came home. why they didn't go back to their place of residence, why they took up to the streets, why they decided to live in the hills, because they couldn't deal with themselves. Here's the problem. Would you treat these things exactly the same way? Could I use, could I use prolonged exposure to really deal with some of these deep moral injury issues? Yeah, I don't think it's my goal to re-traumatize somebody and bring them through every bit of shame. But there are other modalities that would allow me to do that. Would I do it with CPT? Probably not, but could I? Maybe. But are there other modalities that would allow me to do that? Yeah. What's the problem? Well, you keep doing things the same way you always have, you get the same results. For those of you that are service members, have service members that your family members that were, or individuals like us that have lost people right in front of us, it leaves a mark. It leaves damage. And so you really end up fitting into that right side category. That's where we see our deaths raise. There's a great video on HBO Max called War Torn. Recommend highly that if you deal with PTSD, that you take the time to watch it. It's with the bigger guy from The Sopranos, and it's done during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. It's a big wake up call, but it's really focused in the moral injury realm as well. Let's kind of dive a little bit more. Numbers, hate them. Drescher and Foy said from the 1995 writing found that in response to surveyed items, 74% of 100 Vietnam veterans diagnosed with PTSD indicated, I have had difficulty reconciling my religious beliefs with traumatic events I saw and experienced in Vietnam. Of this same group, 50% indicated feelings of guilt about things I expressed in Vietnam have caused my religious faith to diminish. Folks, I've sat in a room and I've heard this darn exact thing. They were different. They weren't the same. And they didn't know how to reconcile it. But that's just one conflict. Move forward to Mogadishu. Most of you are familiar with it from the movie Black Hawk Down. It says one soldier who fought the Battle of Mogadishu reflected on his experience of taking many lives, and only years later did it occur to him that enemy was another human being like him, with family and friends. And so that's hard to deal with, but that day the killing was too easy. That upsets me more than anything else. How easy it was to pull that trigger over and over again. It is this conscious deliberation after the fact of killing that can lead to the moral injury. Moral injury resonates with the idea that killing hurts the killer too, even in self-defense and even in the line of duty. Let's keep moving forward. Iraq and Afghanistan. In the terms of current wars, there's evidence to suggest that issues pertaining to moral injury may be prevalent. In 2003, 52% of soldiers and Marines surveyed reported shooting or direct fire at the enemy. 32% reported being directly responsible for the death of an enemy combatant, and 20% endorsed responsibility for the death of a non-combatant. Basically, your supposed innocent person. These are links and videos. Time's not there, but like I said, I'm going to come back and do this in depth. So a couple examples. I'll make these brief. First one was a artillery during Vietnam. Doesn't sleep, falls off the bed, hits his wife, wants to know about all the innocents that were killed. Second one of my best friends, former Green Beret, he came back and he said, I don't know what to do, everybody. I started to actually like what I was doing. And I know I shouldn't feel that way. The person at the bottom might be somebody I know. And I've got a list. Um, it's like being at the VA. Sadly, if I had a penny for everybody that told me that they had caused a life-ending event with a child, we would all be rich, sadly. But it especially pisses me off because I've been in that situation and it was self-defense and I wasn't forgiving myself and I wasn't looking at the big picture. But then I was also in DC for 9/11 and a lot of things happened for people in the special operations world on our soil. Think about what type of damage it feels like to be in combat a mile and a half from your house, a mile and a half from your wife, a mile and a half from your kids. You know you're doing the job, but yeah, they passed right by the house. Michael and I've had that conversation every year since probably about 2016, trying to get me to calm down because it's a hard day. But these are just some examples. First of all, treatment for moral injury cannot be the same treatment as PTSD consistently. We forget that we've got to think about or learn what you don't, and let's be honest about what we know. Okay, moral injury started, as I said in the beginning, as a religious-based treatment, built and grounded in Christianity and applied by chaplains, in which many military members did not want to deal with. However, the obvious is not everyone is a Christian, so it becomes an inclusive treatment. That is why I built my company. That is why I brought Michael on with me, because we understand a very diverse population. And while you might treat military families, the advantage that we have is due to our jobs in the military. We still hold clearances. And where I'm located at, I have 3 special operation bases right around me, including neighbors. And I'm able to still do work with people that wouldn't usually get treatment. But that doesn't mean it's the only people it's good for. Once again, looking at the chart, apply numerous other situations here. And it will come up later, but I mean, our first responders, and specifically, those who are in the fire industry, they are full of moral injury. In Oregon, back in 2017, 6 new recruits were going to a house fire with the rest of their group. As crazy as it sounds, no one was able to open up the fence. Everyone died that was in the house, including 5 kids. Those recruits all resigned the same day. They could not justify in their mind, and they could not see the truth that this was not their direct issue. This was not their direct not being able to do the job. We've got to educate, and they get to make choices that sometimes they can't move forward on. It's kind of like dealing with our armed forces. Listen, one of the hardest hit groups is the Coast Guard, because sometimes you can't go and save a sinking ship, and you've got to watch it fall. Once again, can expound numerous times, but I just want to give you a good basis. So as I mentioned, prior thoughts on CPT and PE for therapy, were the start, but are becoming a past thought really in regards to treating the moral injury side. Yes, it does not have its own code. Is it going to get it? I don't know. Is it located in the PTSD diagnosis? Yes. Criterion D, unless I'm going brain dead. However, we know that one criteria is not enough. Presently, ACT, schema, and most importantly, adaptive disclosure, which was created for military. However, It is equally important for any group because let me tell you, I will never support the mindset of not knowing how to share who you are, not taking over a session, but being able to have such a level of rapport that people will actually listen, understand, and go, oh my gosh, I'm speaking with somebody that gets at least part of it from their perspective. Adaptive disclosure says talk, not shut up. In regards to ACT, the success that has been seen, I'm not going to even go through, read the slide, but here's the success. People come back from, I got one client that I will never remember. He comes back from Vietnam, loses his family, everything's falling apart, and feels like this ultimate failure. But what the individual did do, and it took a while, is he made contact with his children. And he started to be able to be the grandfather again. He started to be able to be the father again. Yoshi, my service dog, is coming to make sure, since I'm being loud, that I'm okay. He's good. The gentleman was able, in about 5 sessions, because a lot of this can mirror ART, was able to realize that, listen, you went in and you get indoctrinated. You go in and you are prepared to do your mission. You're prepared to do whatever you're called to do. But you're not, in a sense, deprogrammed to go back and take care of a family. And so you feel like you failed, you let everybody down. But it was helping this gentleman to understand, did you seek out your kids later? Yeah. Did you make amends with those kids later? Yeah. Did you go to all ends of the earth to get that relationship back? Yeah. That's how ACT plays a huge part. I am a schema therapist till I die. No, I do not rely on one. I had a great supervisor that used that wonderful eclectic word, but he said, Ryan, this is the most important thing I want you to do. Learn how to identify early maladaptive behaviors and help people see where the trends are. A lot to do with PTSD and moral injury has to do with trends. If you get a chance, get online. Schema is the same creator as CBT. There is a screening called the YSQR, 116 questions. Prints out a real pretty chart at the end. Tells people, guess what? The reason why you're emotionally deprived is because you have no trust. There's 20 different things. It's a game changer to start service. In relating to moral injury, it tells you about the type of person they are and what they've been through. And adaptive disclosure, just in short, once again, it's all about reestablishing the core values and really helping the patient see what's missing, fixing that, created false sense of right and wrong, being able just to have a conversation with individuals using something like the Last Samurai video to be able to give somebody that third person view, to let them see that, yeah, some people learn great when they hear. Some people learn great when they read. Some people just don't learn. On the other hand, some people need to see it from an outside perspective. We have a responsibility to learn and know how to do this. Because if we're not, then yes, I have a very dogmatic belief of, hey, we're here for a reason. This is my reconciliation period. Why do I call it that? Because I got a list of crap that I've got memories of that I don't know if I'll ever be able to completely erase. But I know one thing is I'm absolutely dedicated to making sure nobody lives at the bottom of a barrel where it's dark, it's gloomy, they can't even get a pizza ordered and be able to eat it. They're left just alone. Why would I want anybody to be somewhere I've been? So why not work every avenue possible to help bring them out? Now, difficult issue to address, but being honest. When you start talking about guilt, Yeah, that's not a fun subject, right? No, neither is regret. But when you start, and this is the mode for teaching the group, the instructor gets up and gives an example of one of their traumas. Here in a second, I'll bring up the virtues. Every person has a postcard of each of the virtues. They're asked to put them in order of where they think that situation was violated. Their version, my version, the other 9 people's version don't all look the same because we all process different. We need that as a way to open up conversation. And it does. It works when you put a whole bunch of people in an environment where they relate. The majority of people want to speak to one of their own. Listen, this is an argument. I've heard it, got it. Don't argue it anymore. Listen, I'm not saying that only military can work with military, only first responders can work with first responders. But there is a huge correlation to, hey, I need to speak with somebody that's been in this environment. Have I seen people that were successful outside? Absolutely. But it is a pretty strong belief that they want their own people. I'm not trying to cause an issue for argument whatsoever, but there's very positive work that comes out of the moral injury arena, and it's saving lives. You know, I find, and this was a conversation I actually had again this week, for family members working in the special operations field or that have worked with such, they 100% want their own. Why? Because if not, it's a very quiet conversation. Because the things that are said and done, even the training, is very difficult to understand. And I will tell you, living in this location, that is an absolute fact. 8 referrals this week for providers sending people over to me for this issue specifically. We're told to be silent. We need somebody that we can talk to that has the clearances that can keep quiet and do the work. As I said, this subject can go on forever. You know, we're using the same methods, but here's something that's really awesome. The same thing I'm going to show you has incredible results with sexual assault and domestic violence as well. There's a violation of core values or the perceived violation of core values. Best example, listen, nobody asked to be assaulted. You know, it's not like they were on their little bike with that nice 10-foot red flag flying high in the air as their choose me flag. No one saw the Goodyear blimp pointing down at me and saying, listen, choose him. He's the one I want to affect. But we feel that way. Listen, I'm vulnerable and I'm transparent. You know, I've been a victim of both of these things. I didn't ask for it, didn't like it, but the virtues helped pull me out. And I've seen it happen over and over again. So what I'm saying is successful treatment with moral injury is really done well with these modalities, but it's done to perfection when a person that's teaching a group on it is communicating with the individual's therapist and letting them know what comes out during that time period. Makes sense, right? All right. So these are the 7 virtues of Bushido: integrity, respect, heroic courage, honor, compassion, honesty and sincerity, and duty and loyalty. Great, right? Simple is what I say. Why do we make things different? You guys want to see me walk out of a room of our peers? Let them start talking deep theory, big words, like they're some genius. I'm out because I would never talk to my client that way. So I need to be in the mindset to be able to do this. People understand integrity. People understand honor. People understand compassion, might not practice it well, but simple words. Here's the secondary issue. When you're doing this process, you're looking for two things: an inward view and an outward view. How do you cast these things out? And how do you deal with them on the inside? Y'all, I can show compassion like there's nobody's business externally. And I suck at internal compassion. Just gonna guess I'm not the only one. Just even, I'm a rich man. I think I've got 10 cents around here somewhere. I'll even bet that 10 cents that most of you are fighting with self-compassion. There's certain things, though, in here that aren't issues. But when these 7 things come together regarding one specific issue, you really reframe the house, both internally and externally. You reestablish a core. And when you reestablish a core, people can then build. This is your foundation. Here's a side note for you. Guess what? These all can be turned into Christian values and the inward and the outward man. And really, my version of non-inclusive actually hits both sides. There you go. I told you the secret. I never say it in group, but somebody always eventually picks it up. And I had a great guy actually take this and write it to the 12 steps for alcoholism. So moving kind of even quicker, integrity, being accurately honest throughout all your dealings with all people. Believe in justice, not from other people, but from yourself. To the true warrior, all points of view are considered, deeply considered regarding honesty, justice, and integrity. Love the bottom. Warriors make a full commitment to their decisions. Hey, if you're not a warrior, great. Don't use the word. If you're a mom and you want to be a better mom, a mom with integrity, change the word to mom. Change the word to whatever you want to hit the subject. Respect. True warriors have no reason to be cruel. They do not need to prove their strength. Warriors are courteous even to their enemies. Warriors are not only respected for their strength in battle, but also by their dealings with others. The true strength of the warrior becomes apparent during difficult times, because in difficult times, you really got some not nice things to say about your enemies. One of my perspectives is territorial issues in different places of the world. I found some really great people. I have a lot of people I worked with that didn't want to deal with them because they were seen as the enemy. We all take a different position. But becoming a warrior during difficult times is what we're all trying to do. Even the person that's coming in just trying to fight their levels of anxiety. Heroic courage, you need to use this to death because it's probably one of the easiest ones to help with your depressive patients. Hiding like a turtle in a shell is not living at all. A true warrior must have heroic courage. It is absolutely risky. It's living life completely, fully, and wonderfully. Heroic courage is not blind, it's intelligent and strong. Listen, if you couldn't get out of bed today, got it. Point marked, accepted. But if you sit up tomorrow, you've still made progress. If the next day you're back in bed, not getting up, it's still progress. Maybe not the one we wanted, but if day 4, 5, or 100 comes around and you're out cooking breakfast and you took a shower and you're ready to go to the store, then the turtle has been able to get out of the shell. It's a simple analogy. It makes sense. Don't make it too difficult. Honor. This is my key. It's my number one. Warriors have only one judge of honor and character, and this is themselves. Decisions they made and how these decisions are carried out is a reflection of who they truly are. You can't hide from yourself. You can try. You can do the best at all things. But inherently, we know even though someone is,
Mhm.
yes.
He was talking to me.
Uh, uh, one of the things that's interesting is what's that? I'm sorry. Sadly, I can't see the chat or anything in this view, so I apologize if I'm missing something. I will stick around and get questions. Um, but honor is located directly in the middle of the virtues. Some of us, not all of us, have this tattooed across our back. Honor is located in the center. What's in the center of your back? It's your spine. When you don't have honor, people consider you spineless. Old term, don't hear it as much anymore. Honor is valuable. Honor reminds me that no matter what's going on, I've got to be authentically me and know who I am. I love that it's placed in the middle. I love that it's placed on the spine because I never want to forget it. The killer, compassion. Through intense training and hard work, the true warrior becomes quick and strong. Okay, that's good. They are not as most people. They develop a power that must be used for good. They have compassion. They help their fellow man at every opportunity. If an opportunity does not arise, they go out of their way to find one. Easy to do outside. Easy to do in other situations. Oh my gosh, why is it so dang hard to offer ourselves compassion? Yes, we can have a laundry list of answers, but it's something that's key to work on. Two more. Honesty and sincerity. How can you do anything without being honest? When warriors say that they will perform an actions as good as done, nothing will stop them from completing what they say they will do. They do not have to give their word. They do not have to promise. Different than we usually hear, speaking and doing are the same action. I shouldn't have to promise you anything. If I'm practicing my virtues, my integrity speaks for itself. My respect for you is there. My honor is established. Okay, we should know we're good. But that takes us to the last one, duty and loyalty. Warriors are responsible for everything that they have done, everything that they have said, all the consequences that follow. They are immensely loyal to all those in their care. To everyone that they are responsible for, they remain fiercely true. Doesn't seem to work well with the abandonment or attachment issue, does it? But we can sure restructure what that looks like. We can sure help people understand that there are different ways. You know, yes, this is quick. I realize that. If I if I took the time I wanted, I would spend 1 hour on each virtue because there's so much more to go. I can give references for each of these and give you a way to see a path that just makes a difference. I did 2 stints working in the rehab world. This is where I started. The people that understood the virtues took to the therapy very, very well that followed. Without values, there's no purpose. Without purpose, there's no healing. It's kind of a mess. All right. So, me and my long winded self, in a short version, that is a rundown. 18 messages. Cool. Move the camera. I do telehealth 3 days a week, so I'm always moving the camera around. Let me look at these messages, and please, people, feel free to ask questions. I live for it. Substance abuse is strong in the military. Yeah, not only is it strong in the military, but if you have experience, then you realize that the place called the Class 6 or the Shopette on base, every Friday you'll go to that building and you will find boxes to the ceiling. What are those boxes of? The emptied alcohol boxes for the people that will clear out the store. Absolutely true. Yeah, his body language spoke to where he was at, without question. The disassociation, 100% there. You got to see the transition when they laugh. Maybe you didn't notice. He changed at the laughing point. When the laughing stopped, he went back to muscle memory, presenting exactly what the rifle did. Yes, I ruin movies. It's great. He has no idea of it or how he could cope. No, he has nothing. The next segment of the movie, next two segments that are very powerful. One, his feeling against what happened and why he is that way. And second, doesn't feel like he's got any hope. Yeah, special operations forces experience higher rates of direct fire in firefights. Sad, true, and it leaves marks. Literally, I have 3 located in my stomach, and my brother has a few more, but that's a different issue. Things are individuals who picked the targets for. Oh my gosh, Jennifer, I live in an area where I have UAV pilots, and they are very, very full of moral injury. It's very difficult to listen to them speak, and you've got to have that empathetic heart in that situation, because I just found out I have another neighbor that is going to training for the same thing. It is rough. What do you say? Uh, okay, my fellow froggy. Yeah, it's it's hard. Um, it's very hard when you have to remove somebody from your team. Trust is at a must. Um, like I said, I can tell you a real million reasons why I have the relationship I do with Michael. Why we have watched over each other's families. We protected each other through numerous things. But the one thing that I never had the doubt was my back safe? Because in my work, I got to be in the middle of people that you saw on TV that are listed as the bad ones, part of the 52 cards after 9/11. And without knowing I had somebody like my brother protecting my back as I sat face to face with that, um, I never worried about my backside because I knew they would never let anything happen. As a target analyst, yeah. Um, yeah, I see a lot of it. And then let me validate and tell you, girl, I support you 100% because there's a lot there. Anytime you'd want to talk, I'm always here. How have you found military spouse connected therapists have success? Ooh, Brian, that's a great question. Um, there are pluses and there's minuses. Um, the pluses, they understand terms. Um, some of the minuses are they're they're sharing the stories of the spouse that, listen, most of the spouses never share a lot of it. I was married 25 years, and in my 13, my wife never knew where I was at. We did not get to check in home. I might come home just because of the nature of my work. I might come home for 3 or 4 days and then leave again and be gone for 2 and come back for a day or 2 and leave again. And she couldn't tell you, but I have seen some military spouses that I would consider priceless. And I think, I mean, for the future of what I want to build, what Michael and I've talked about building, we need that. And the chapter that I wrote for the 21st century military book was about combat deployments from the perspective of members and family members. And that's what resonated with people is we forget that the spouses Their job at home, it, we don't give them credit. We do not anywhere give them enough credit for what they've had to do. Yes, almost like the Army values. Um, you know, when you watch the full version of The Last Samurai, you pick up on what it means to truly be willing to have that fiercely devout loyalty. So many people think of the history of the samurai as just mean, violent warriors that just killed for fun. No, they were absolute servants. The word samurai means servant of the Lord. While Lord was their leader to somebody spiritual, they can turn that into something bigger. But no one was regarded higher or lower. But the village knew that the samurai would protect them. They did give them respect. But when they were home, they worked like everybody else and they trained consistently. Kaylee, I will pay you for your comment later. Good. That question's answered. Let's see. First of all, my answer will always be in regards to thank you for your service. It's a very simple answer. It was for you. I don't know of anybody that just chose to do some of the things we did, especially in our lines of work. But truly, I've got 5 kids, got 6 grandkids. It was all, it was all to see a better life. Yeah, those that are interested in this work, um, it is rewarding beyond belief. Not taking away from any part of what we do, but we are talking about in the Pensacola area. The Naval Air Station Pensacola is down to 2 therapists. They are handling all this DEI out processing. The Pensacola VA just lost 2 more therapists. The Eglin Air Force Base, CBOC just lost 2 more therapists. I am getting referrals like crazy, and because some of the things going on with TRICARE right now, delayed paying, being part of what is the best corporation I've worked with, we're not worried about it. So we have people here referring on a daily basis to me, and we're getting the resources. And of all the elites in the state, in Elite DNA, we are focusing on the military member and families because we've got 5 bases within 30 miles. We've got to be ready. Are there resources in Alabama or someone like you and your company that will work with people with clearances? Okay, so at the current time, not that I know of. Some people at the VA who have a background will address this, but it's how it's addressed that really makes the difference. There is a book that was written on moral reconciliation. And in that book, the issue was, and it was another military operator, and he wrote me telling me that I was the biggest idiot in the world, that I was going to mess up service members by trying to reestablish them as warriors. Well, that was a fun call. I can't say I had some of my nicest responses. But he ate a lot of crow because those people wanted to be warriors. They just didn't want to do some of the things that they were asked to do during horrible times. It depends on how you look at it and what you're really willing to do. But do I have resources in Alabama? Yes. Are there a chance? Is there a good chance that they're going to pop up soon? Yes. And can I come teach in Alabama? Yes. Now, as a side note, my agreement with the board is that I don't charge for my CEs, because they're keeping me on the books because of what I teach. Only thing I ask is if I have to travel, and that I get a place to sleep, and and I have a way to get there. Um, at that point, I am willing to go anywhere and teach the process. Yeah, the battles you make stay with you, without question. Um, and there is a lot of work for you to do, Jennifer. Um, and we can definitely talk more about it. 100%. Yeah, I'm not even doing it. Yeah, I know you did it for me. I love you too. Yes. I actually lived in Florence, Alabama, worked with the community up there. It's something that Choi and I've talked about in the past. At one time, I did look to move to the Huntsville area, but establishing something like this is good. Brienne, you definitely want to make sure you you catch up with me. I live on the borderline of Gulf Breeze and Navarre. And yes, I know every opportunity here and where to tell you not to go. And I would be happy to help you. So, Georgia, I do know that the easiest way to say it, elite spreading. Elite is about ready to spread like wildfire. Is Georgia on the list of places that we want to go? Absolutely. But just recently, I was approached, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything or not, but heck, I get in trouble for everything, so what do I care, right? Um, I was just briefed that it looks like we're looking at two places in Alabama. If that happens, hold on, folks, because things are going to get interesting for those of you that have gotten out of school, are looking to practice, because elite is based on an outpatient. It's basically based on an outpatient environment, and the work that you can do is unbelievable. It's the best place I've ever been. I don't know, Troy. I just made that one up to have your
Hey,
laugh.
we appreciate you sharing that information because I know when we were talking, it looks like it could be an awesome opportunity for LMSWs as well, not just clinical, but LMSWs and pretty competitive paying options is what
Uh,
we really need. So, um,
yeah, I kind of told Troy last night what was going on. I was trying to get a regional director to come out with me today. Um, I'll work on that for the future, because let me tell you, when I went to the training with this company, there were 45 people. And yeah, Trenton, to answer your question, yes and no. There is, and do you see a lot of it post? Yes. Um, have a good night, Kaylee. Uh, what we're seeing and what is being identified as something to address is going to be interesting. It is, we are starting to, well, there's two issues. Number one of my research projects right now is identifying people that have worked in the special operations world, where you're never the same person. Um, there are very much DID behaviors that show up, and that is a huge concern. The bigger issue that we are working on bringing forth is the new hotbed topic. And it's not just military, but it is pretty heavy, and it's called operator syndrome. I've told Choya that I will do this soon, because right now it is extremely fresh, um, and it's direly important. And it basically has to do with when your allostatic load is so high, high pressure, high volume, high action, your endocrine system starts to go nuts. A lot of us that have come through that, it's crazy, because like if you line Michael's and my records up, our medical stuff goes down the line, and you're seeing this really take over. However, there are some amazing treatments that are going on The research is still building, and that's also part of the program we're working on. So yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, I like that, Jamie. I do. I like that.